This is one of the most famous UFO photographs taken in the 20th century. This picture was taken in 1990 by two friends taking a walk in the hillside near the village of Calvine. I wanted to try something new on this channel and dig into a topic I really have not touched on before. I'll be digging into both the photograph itself and the mysterious story surrounding it, and also I'm going to be doing a deep dive into this 2024 report from the Sheffield Hallam University, in which they do a deep dive into the original photograph itself, confirming whether or not it's a genuine and unaltered image. Now, if you enjoy videos that go on deep dives and stories of high strangeness, whether that be missing persons cases, conspiracies, or even like today's video on UFOs, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss what's coming next. Now, let's dive into today's mystery. On the evening of August 4th, 1990, two friends set out on a walk in the hills near Calvine. As dusk fell, they suddenly noticed a massive diamond-shaped object hanging in the sky. This object allegedly made no noise, showed no obvious means of propulsion, no exhaust, and it hovered eerily, as if frozen in time, according to later accounts. Frightened by the sight, the hikers took cover behind some trees while observing the object. It was then that things took an even more extraordinary turn. A British military fighter jet, later identified in the photo as a Harrier fighter, suddenly thundered into view and began circling around this mysterious object. Sensing a potentially historic moment, one of the men snapped 6 photographs of the scene, capturing a clear outline of the hovering diamond-shaped object with the Harrier flying in the background. After roughly 10 minutes of this extremely bizarre event, the unknown object suddenly shot straight upward at a great speed, vanishing from sight. The two eyewitness accounts from what happened that night emphasize just how unusual this encounter was. The UFO was described as huge in size as compared to the fighter jet. Completely silent, motionless, except for its sudden departure. The presence of a Harrier fighter jet suggests that the military took notice of the object as well. The jet reportedly made multiple low passes, as if the pilot had spotted the object themselves and wanted to get a closer look. The hikers were shocked by what they just witnessed, and they eventually made their way back with evidence in hand. Within days of the incident, the two witnesses brought their story and their photographic prints to the Scottish Daily Record, a Glasgow-based tabloid newspaper. The Daily Record, astonished by the sharp images of this supposed UFO, contacted a nearby Royal Air Force press officer by the name of Craig Lindsay. Lindsay was shown the best of the photos, and he said that he had never seen such a clear photograph of a supposed UFO, prompting him to forward it to the UK Ministry of Defence for expert analysis. They instructed Craig to obtain the remaining 5 photos and the original film negatives from the newspaper, and they even asked him to get in touch with the photographers for a full account of what happened that day. One of the most perplexing aspects of the Calvine incident is the fate of the 2 anonymous men who had taken the photographs. Their identities were never revealed by the newspaper or the Ministry of Defense, and despite extensive investigations, they have never come forward publicly. All that is known about them is that they were 2 young adult males who worked as kitchen staff at a nearby hotel in the year 1990. Beyond the testimony given to the Daily Record and the testimony given to Royal Air Force officer Craig Lindsay, the pair had essentially vanished from the narrative, fueling speculation about whether they were either blackmailed, forced into hiding, or had something far worse happen to them. With that said, some startling new testimony emerged recently, suggesting the 2 men truly did vanish in the aftermath. A former colleague of the pair, a man named Richard Grieve, who had worked with the pair at the same exact hotel when all of this went down, recalled a bizarre incident that took place a few weeks after the photos were taken. He claims that one rainy evening, a mysterious black car pulled up to the hotel and two men wearing dark suits stepped out. These supposed men in black would go into the kitchen and summon the two cooks by bluntly stating, "Break time is over," and would lead them outside, where the four of them would speak together privately in the pouring rain. When the two chefs returned, Greaves remembered them looking white as a ghost, clearly shaken up by whatever was said to them. In the following days after this incident, their behavior changed dramatically. They were distraught, began drinking heavily, missed work, and sometimes even slept in their cars to avoid going home. Approximately 4 weeks after their conversation with the men in black, Greaves recounted that both men suddenly quit their jobs and completely vanished, neither of them ever being heard from again. Greaves would say, quote, "Chefs just don't disappear out of the kitchen for 34 years and never have another job," questioning how unusual their complete disappearance from the area was. To this day, it remains unproven what exactly happened to the two men. But the tale of the Men in Black encounter has become a chilling part of the Calvine UFO photo lore. For over 3 decades, none of the Calvine pictures were available to the public. But that all changed in the year 2022. A man named Dr. David Clark had spent years investigating this story and chasing leads, and one day discovered that that man, Royal Air Force officer Craig Lindsay, had actually quietly kept one of the original prints of the best Calvine photo tucked away in his files as a personal memento. Lindsay had stored a 10 by 8 inch colored photo in an envelope since the year 1990, suspecting that one day somebody might come looking for it. In late 2021, when he was contacted by Dr. Clark and his colleagues, Lindsay agreed to hand over the one original photograph for analysis and public release. Finally, after 3 decades, in August of 2022, 32 years after it was taken, the Calvine UFO photo was revealed to the world. The photo was first published in the Daily Mail and quickly went viral across news outlets and social media. Headlines would describe the image as the clearest UFO photo ever taken and a holy grail of ufology finally unveiled. Before diving into the technical details, it's worth noting who carried out this analysis. The report was produced at the Sheffield Hallam University in the United Kingdom by a man named Andrew Robinson, a senior lecturer in photography with decades of experience in both academic research and professional photographic practice. Sheffield Hallam is a respected institute known for its applied sciences and media studies programs, and Robinson's expertise is specific in the forensic study of photographs as evidence. That makes this evaluation more than just casual commentary. It's a systematic breakdown by somebody who is trained to detect manipulations in analog photography. With that context in mind, let's walk through how the Calvine photo was tested and why the results strongly point to it being a genuine, unaltered image from a pre-digital era. Andrew Robinson's analysis begins with a thorough physical inspection of the sole surviving Calvine print. The photograph is a 10 by 8 inch borderless print on Kodak resin-coated color photographic paper, identified by its back stamp. Specifically, the paper is Kodak Ectacolor 78 RC paper, a type manufactured in the late 1970s through 1980s. Resin-coated paper was commonly used in high volume and press photography because its plastic-sealed layers allowed quick processing and drying, and this is ideal for newspaper and photo labs of the late 1980s. The backstamp text matches Kodak's EP2 process papers used between 1979 and 1991, aligning perfectly with the Calvine incident's 1990 date. Physical clues on the print further validate its analog origin. Under magnification, Robinson noted a small emulsion scratch in the lower right of the image. This scratch reveals an orange-red layer beneath the image, which is a telltale sign of a color photographic paper. Likewise, a tiny turquoise green spot appears in one corner of the print, and this is likely an unprocessed area of the paper's emulsion caused by a speck of dirt during development. Unprocessed colored paper is known to have a cyan green appearance, so this defect is further evidence that the Calvine photo was printed on colored chemistry paper in a lab, and not produced or altered digitally. All of these physical markers, including the vintage Kodak backstamp, the RC paper characteristics, and chemical processing artifacts, ground the Calvine photograph firmly in the analog realm of 1990. One striking aspect of the Calvine print is that it is monochrome, or essentially black and white, even though early reports described the original sighting photos as color. The print has a slight sepia brown tone, not a pure black and white grayscale. Such a tone often results from printing a black and white negative onto colored paper. Why would a color UFO photo end up as a black and white print? The report uncovers a likely chain of events. According to the Ministry of Defense memos from the 1990s, the Calvine witness initially handed original prints that were apparently color to the Daily Record newspaper. Now, before the actual film negatives were sent to London, the press officer Craig Lindsay in Scotland received a copy. To quickly supply an image to the Ministry of Defense, the Daily Record likely rephotographed one of the original prints using a copy camera. At the time, it is not unusual for newsrooms to have a copy stand or camera loaded with whatever film was on hand, and in this case, it appears they used black and white film to copy the print. The copy negative would then be printed on colored paper, and this is why there would be a monochrome image with a slight sepia tint. Robinson notes that this is the simplest explanation for why the only Calvine photo is a black and white image printed on colored paper made from a copy of an original colored print. In essence, the Calvine photograph we have is one generation removed from the original film negative. It's a second generation print produced via analog duplication in 1990. So, in conclusion, each section of Andrew Robinson's report builds towards a clear conclusion that the Calvine UFO photograph is a genuine, unmanipulated film photograph from the year 1990, developed and printed using the standard analog methods of its day. The paper type and processing chemistry places the print's origin in the correct time frame and context. The determination that it's a black and white image made from an original color print explains the odd color discrepancy while demonstrating the newspaper's analog workflow. Robinson's report methodically demonstrates that the Calvine photograph passes every authenticity test. It bears the material hallmarks of a late 80s to early 90s film print and shows none of the red flags one would expect from a fabrication. This means that whatever the photo depicts, it is an honest capture of a real scene, taken on film by the actual witnesses. Debate has intensified over what exactly the photographs show. And over the years, a number of theories, both simple and extraordinary, have been proposed. One prevailing idea is that the UFO was actually a classified human-made aircraft, possibly an American spy or experimental plane undergoing secret tests. The incident's timing is intriguing. It occurred at the eve of the Gulf War, just 2 days after the invasion of Kuwait in 1990, a period of heightened military readiness. Some suggest the object could have been the rumored Aurora, a hypothesized US black project hypersonic craft from the late 1980s. Or another prototype being tested in UK airspace. Even Dr. Clark has leaned towards a terrestrial explanation, stating, quote, "I believe it was man-made somewhere in a secret hangar, and whatever it is remains highly sensitive." Supporting this theory, Clark revealed that an unnamed Ministry of Defense source told him the Calvine object was known to be a US experimental aircraft, though no official documentation has confirmed this claim. If it was an advanced military technology, that might explain the swift confiscation of the photos and the enduring secrecy. The Harrier fighter jet in the background could have just been escorting or monitoring a test. On the other hand, skeptics have argued that nothing otherworldly or high-tech was captured in Calvine at all. One hypothesis is that the Diamond UFO wasn't a flying craft at all, but rather a distant mountain peak protruding above the mist or clouds, creating an optical illusion. From the vantage point of the hikers, a tall mountain on the horizon could appear to float above the ground if low clouds were obscuring the base. However, this idea has largely been discredited by photographic experts who note that the object's sharp geometric shape does not match any of the nearby terrain. However, this idea has largely been discredited by photographic experts who note that the object's sharp geometric shape does not match any of the nearby terrain. Another theory suggests the photo could have been the result of double exposure or a reflection, essentially a camera trick or doctoring. Some online hoax proponents speculate that the photographers may have suspended a small object, like a cardboard cutout, close to the camera to fake a giant UFO in the distance. However, no definitive evidence of a hoax has emerged, and the Ministry of Defense's own analysis in 1990 found no indication the images were a hoax. The consistency of the witness statements, the presence of a Harrier fighter jet, and the rediscovered print details have kept analysis convinced that this was not a simple forgery. And of course, another possibility is the Calvine object was exactly what it appeared to be to the witnesses, a bona fide UFO of extraterrestrial origin. This interpretation gained strength from the apparent size and behavior of the object, hovering with no sound or wings, then accelerating instantaneously, which seemed far beyond any known 1990 technology. UFO skeptics point out that extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. And so far, the Calvine case offers a provocative photo, but no corroborating radar data, satellite tracking, or recovered materials that would indicate an alien spacecraft. It remains as an open question, and believers in the extraterrestrial theory argue that this could have indeed been a visitation or an unknown phenomenon that the Ministry of Defense chose to cover up to avoid public panic. 35 years later, the Calvine UFO incident remains an enticing mystery that refuses to be fully resolved. The rediscovery of the photo has answered one question: what did the object look like? But has raised so many others. Was it an advanced military aircraft being tested under the cover of secrecy? And if so, why was it flying over the Scottish hillsides without any official record? And why has no similar technology been openly acknowledged decades later? If this was just a hoax, it would rank among one of the most elaborate hoaxes ever, given the involvement of the Royal Air Force and Ministry of Defense's analysis. And if the Calvine object was something truly anomalous or extraterrestrial, it stands as one of the best documented close encounters, yet we have no official admission of such an event. Each possibility is just as intriguing as the next. What do you think of the Calvine UFO photograph? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world. And with that, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you on my next investigation.